Thanks to his Akuma no Mi and his genius, Luffy has already reached several different forms, whether through the gears, the side effects of his gears, or some external effect. Some of these gears are even capable of activating other forms through them. Seriously, there are so many transformations that I almost thought it was Dragon Ball, but it's just One Piece. Come closer because I'm gonna show you all of Luffy's transformations. There are 13 forms, each stronger than the last. One of the most impressive things about Luffy is the way he uses his Akuma no Mi, the Gomu Gomu no Mi, with surprising genius and creativity. His ability to transform his rubber body into different forms and use them in innovative ways is a testament to his strategic genius. Luffy fully understands the elastic properties of his body and takes full advantage of them. He can stretch his limbs in incredible ways, allowing him to reach distant targets or move quickly in unexpected directions. This elastic ability gives him a unique advantage in battles, making him unpredictable and difficult to hit. His creativity is also evident in how he combines elasticity with strength and speed, exponentially increasing the impact of his punches and kicks. Or when he's in a fight where the battle is completely unfavorable, he manages to turn the situation around, even to the point of pumping his heart or blood flow to become even faster. Another demonstration of Luffy's genius is his ability to quickly adapt to situations. He is a quick thinker and can find ingenious solutions even in the most challenging moments. Luffy is known for his improvisation skills, finding creative ways to deal with obstacles that come his way. For example, when he finds himself in situations where he cannot use his hands or feet, Luffy does not let himself be shaken. He uses his elasticity to shape his body in surprising ways, transforming himself into a ball or even a human projectile. These transformations not only allow him to attack his opponents, but also provide additional protection against enemy attacks. Luffy also demonstrates a remarkable ability to learn and improve his skills over time. He is constantly experimenting and discovering new ways to use his elasticity more efficiently. His inquisitive mind and fearless nature lead him to explore the limits of his power, finding new ways to stretch his body and create even more powerful attacks. In other words, despite seeming like a complete fool, he is a genius in his own way, achieving increasingly different transformations to get out of complicated situations. So go ahead and hit the like button below, subscribe to the channel, and activate the notification bell because it really helps keep the One Piece videos coming. That said, let's get into the video. Gomu Gomu no Belly. This is the first different form he showed he could achieve. Since his body is completely made of rubber, Luffy can stretch not only linearly, but also expand in the width of his body, significantly increasing its volume. And since he has a black hole in his stomach, he doesn't stop eating for anything. This makes him gain such a big belly that it easily makes him one of the fattest guys in the world. But since his body defies the laws of reality, his metabolism is so fast that he digests all this in a matter of minutes, returning to the normal body we all know. Water Luffy. He achieved this form in the Alabasta arc during his final fight against Crocodile. Since his opponent had a Logia, Luffy couldn't touch him, but he could do so by using Sand's natural enemy, water. Luffy took a barrel of water with him, but as soon as he realized that this barrel could easily be broken, he had a brilliant idea: to store that water in his belly. This left him with such a big belly that his face, arms, and legs became skinny, but with a totally disproportionate belly. Luffy Nightmare. This is a form he cannot achieve naturally, but it brings unparalleled power. So hold on, because I'm gonna tell you how Luffy got this transformation and how impressive it is. It all started in Thriller Bark when some people who were trapped there discovered a way to take advantage of the shadows absorbed by Gecko Moria's fruit. These shadows contained immense power, and they had a bold idea: to implant these shadows into other people to increase their powers. And that's where Luffy comes in. The inhabitants of Thriller Bark saw how naturally powerful and resilient Luffy was, and thought that with all these shadows, he would become an invincible force. So they collected over 100 shadows to place inside Luffy because they knew this would give him a huge power boost. When Luffy transforms into Luffy Nightmare, his appearance changes drastically. His body becomes larger and more robust, with a blue coloration, gaining huge muscles that demonstrate his amplified strength. His eyes become bright and threatening, revealing the intensity of the power flowing within him. Luffy's hair stands up as if charged with electricity. He becomes a truly intimidating figure. With the transformation into Luffy Nightmare, our hero gains a brutal increase in speed and strength, something unprecedented. He becomes capable of delivering devastating blows, defeating even gigantic creatures with ease. An example of this is when he faced the giant Oz, swinging him by the hair as if he were a toy, even though Oz was nearly 50 meters tall and weighed over 100 tons. It's simply incredible. And the most surprising thing is that when Luffy reached this transformation, he still didn't master Haki. In other words, he achieved all this power purely with his brute strength. This only shows how amazing our Straw Hat Captain's ability to overcome and adapt is. Unfortunately, Luffy cannot use the Luffy Nightmare transformation with his rubber fruit, but there is no doubt that this is one of the most powerful and impressive forms he has ever achieved. His intimidating appearance and overwhelming power are proof of how far he's willing to go to protect his friends and achieve his goals. Second gear. When Luffy enters second gear, something impressive happens. He begins to pump his blood at an accelerated rate, causing it to circulate throughout his body much faster. This results in a very noticeable visual change. Luffy acquires a reddish tone on his skin, and his body begins to emit instant steam as if he were burning from within. But don't be fooled, guys. This transformation is not just visual. With all this blood acceleration process, Luffy enhances his physical abilities, especially strength and speed. It's as if he enters a kind of hyperactive state, where all his movements become much faster and more precise. Just imagine Luffy running at full speed and delivering blows with stunning agility. It's really impressive. He becomes capable of moving so fast that it's hard even for the eyes to follow his movements. It's like he's everywhere at once. In addition, second gear also significantly increases the strength of our hero's punches and kicks. His blows become more powerful and impactful, capable of knocking down even the most robust opponents. It's as if all his energy and vitality are concentrated in every blow he lands. And we can't forget about the enhanced resistance that this form provides to Luffy. His ability to endure and resist attacks is also amplified, making him even more durable during battles. Third gear. This form is quite simple to activate. Luffy starts by biting his index finger, and then he blows a large amount of air into his fists. And that's where the magic happens. His bones and muscles begin to inflate like a balloon, significantly increasing the size of his arms. With his fists inflated, Luffy acquires a tremendous destructive force. He is capable of delivering blows with tremendous strength, capable of destroying even giant rocks with a single punch. Just imagine, folks, the power he has when his giant fists hit the target. It's a true demonstration of raw power. When Luffy activates Gear 3rd, his appearance changes completely. His inflated arms assume a gigantic size, looking like real towers of power. It's an imposing and frightening sight that impacts both enemies and allies. It's as if he transforms into a colossal figure, ready to face any challenge. It's important to note that, like the other gears, Gear 3rd requires significant physical effort from Luffy. The process of inflating his arms consumes a considerable amount of energy, so he needs to be prepared to deal with this extra demand during battles. Deflated Luffy. This is a side effect of using 3rd gear, also known as Gear 3rd. When Luffy uses this powerful technique, he inflates his bones and muscles like a balloon, increasing his size and destructive force. However, after using this form, he ends up facing a little problem. After returning to his normal state, Luffy becomes temporarily deflated, meaning he shrinks and becomes much smaller than usual. This side effect leaves him without the strength to fight and limits his physical abilities. Just imagine, after using all that brute force to destroy rocks and face powerful opponents, Luffy ends up shrinking and becoming an easy target for his enemies. However, like everything in life, our dear Straw Hat learned to deal with this side effect over time. After the time skip, Luffy went through intense training to improve his skills and overcome his limitations. With this, he learned to use the 3rd gear technique more controlled. without suffering the negative effects that left him deflated. 4th gear, Bound Man. This form was developed during his training with the legendary Rayleigh, the Dark King. To transform into Bound Man, Luffy uses a very peculiar technique. First, he compresses his entire arm with armament haki, strengthening it to the maximum. Then he blows a large amount of air through his forearm, expanding his body. Unlike Gear 3rd, where the fists were the focus, in Gear 4th, Luffy emphasizes his upper limbs. With this, he acquires a broad and imposing appearance. And there's more. Due to the large amount of air inside his body, Luffy becomes unable to stay still. He keeps bouncing non-stop, maintaining a frenetic and energetic rhythm. It's as if he's constantly charged with energy and ready to attack at any moment. It's really impressive to see all the excitement and dynamism that this form provides to Luffy. When activating Gear 4th Boundman, Luffy enhances all his physical abilities. His speed, strength, and resistance are intensified extraordinarily. His body is also covered by a layer of armament haki, protecting him from his opponent's attacks. It's as if he becomes a true walking fortress, capable of facing even the most powerful opponents. With his arms covered by armament haki, Luffy delivers crushing blows that can cause devastating damage to his opponents. This overwhelming force was crucial in defeating formidable enemies like Doflamingo, and inflicting serious damage even on Kaido, one of the Yonkos. However, like everything in life, Gear 4th Boundman has its price. After transforming, Luffy has a 10-minute countdown to maintain this form. After this time, he returns to his normal form and is temporarily unable to use haki for another 10 minutes. 4th gear, Tank Man. This unusual form was used during the epic battle against the fearsome Cracker, one of Big Mom's 3 sweet generals. During the confrontation, Luffy faced a challenging problem. The biscuits that Cracker produced with his biscuit fruit powers were extremely difficult to face. Determined to find a solution, our pirate had a brilliant idea. He began to eat all the biscuits around him, devouring them voraciously. The result of this sudden stuffing couldn't have been more curious. Luffy ended up with such an enormous and obese belly that he assumed the form of Gear 4th Tankman. Yes, you heard right. He literally got fat. Despite this strange appearance, this transformation proved extremely effective in the battle against Cracker. Gear 4th Tankman has some distinct and powerful characteristics. First, Luffy's skin becomes incredibly hard and resistant, making him practically invulnerable to his opponent's attacks. This means that Cracker had no chance of hurting our protagonist. Moreover, Luffy's body in this form has an impressive suction ability. He can absorb and repel anything with absurd force. When Luffy used this ability to launch Cracker, he caused real destruction around him, flattening trees and even mountains in the way. It's as if he transformed into a real tank of destruction. 4th gear, Snake Man. Gear, 4th Snake Man is another variation of Gear 4th, where Luffy assumes a body similar to his base form. But there is a crucial difference. Armament haki is only visible from the forearm to the fists. This gives him an intimidating and powerful appearance. This transformation in particular provides Luffy with even greater agility than before. He is capable of changing the direction of his attacks extremely quickly, making it practically impossible for his opponent to dodge his attacks. It's as if Luffy moves like an agile and unpredictable snake. Luffy used the Snake Man form during the epic battle against Katakuri. This transformation was especially effective against the opponent since Katakuri was a master in using observation haki. By adopting Snake Man, Luffy managed to neutralize Katakuri's prediction abilities, making his attacks harder to foresee and dodge. But as with everything, this transformation also has a disadvantage compared to the Boundman form. Luffy becomes more vulnerable to enemy attacks while in Snake Man. His speed and agility may be impressive, but he needs to be careful not to expose himself too much and end up taking powerful blows in return. 5th gear, Sun God. In Gear 5th, Luffy undergoes a drastic change in appearance. His clothes and hair take on a white color, and his fighting style undergoes a complete transformation. It's truly impressive to see how our hero has evolved. This transformation happens right after Luffy awakens the powers of the Hito Hito no Mi. the fruit that transforms him into a human. With this awakening, Luffy reaches an astounding level of power, where his physical strength is limited only by his imagination. Imagine what he's capable of doing. One of the most incredible abilities of Gear 5th is the ability to extend the properties of rubber to the entire environment around him. Luffy can rubberize and stretch not only his own body, but also the environment he is in. This was demonstrated when he stretched and molded the entire roof of Onigashima. It's simply amazing. We can consider Gear 5th as Luffy's ultimate form. With it, the Straw Hat can inflate his muscles and bones freely, just as he does in the 3rd and 4th gears. This freedom and flexibility provide extraordinary power to our hero. But obviously, this power comes at a price. The prolonged use of Gear 5th consumes an immense amount of Luffy's energy. During his battle against Kaido, it was shown that this transformation is so demanding that it can quickly age Luffy's body, leading him to an elderly form. Could this be Oda's excuse for Luffy not to use this transformation all the time? Well, this transformation is so overpowered that there wouldn't even be a fight. There are still 3 other different forms of Luffy that I will show you, but since we talked about 5th gear, take a look at this Luffy shirt. It features his 3 billion bounty in his Gear 5 form. The link to purchase is in the description, and it's the official channel store, okay? You can buy it with confidence. It's a product from the channel. Giant! In addition to having these absurd powers from his Gear 5th, Luffy can also combine these abilities to become even stronger. Since he can inflate his muscles and bones like in his 3rd and 2nd gears, he can masterfully combine these 2 forms. In the fight against Kaido, he managed to become extremely gigantic, comparable in size to Kaido in his dragon form. Seriously, it's over 100 meters long. His fist can also reach a colossal size, comparable to the size of Onigashima Island itself. He can also have an extremely large head, as seen in his fight against Rob Lucci in the manga. This only proves that Luffy is turning into a monster in every sense. Goofy Woodpecker? Sorry, but this was the most interesting name I could find to explain Luffy's crazy forms. Because seriously, he almost becomes the woodpecker when he's in 5th gear. Even Kaido himself said that Luffy's movements resemble children's stories, because in this form, he can do anything his imagination can conjure. He can pop out his eyes and lips, merge with attacks and objects like when his body absorbed the damage from Kaido's club. He can run with super fast little legs, like the Roadrunner. In other words, basically everything you've seen in cartoons, Luffy is capable of doing. Luffy at 70 years old. In the Egghead arc, the Straw Hats met Bonnie, and as soon as they entered Vegapunk's lab, they came across a pacifista, who started chasing them for entering without authorization. Luffy was going to attack it, but since Bonnie is Kuma's daughter, she didn't want to see someone with her father's appearance getting beaten. So, to stop the chase, she used her fruit powers to alter the age of each of the 4 present. Thus, the pacifista would not recognize them and would stop chasing them. Jinbei was rejuvenated, Chopper became old, and Bonnie became young again. But Luffy, the guy ended up worn out at 70 years old. Oh my god, I don't want to see Luffy like that one day. But the most interesting form of Luffy is the Gomu Gomu no Mi model subscribed to the channel. This guy who does this is a genius, because he activates the notification bell and stays on top of all the videos posted here on the channel. So go ahead and click that button, it helps a lot with our work here on YouTube. Thanks so much for your attention, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks.